in this video, we are going to discuss if you should buy a new Milwaukee 8 Softail or if you should buy a Dyna/FXR. Let's check it out. Alright, what's going on YouTube? FXCLS Brooklyn is back in the building. As you can see, we're doing a little night rip here, making some night moves. That'll be a separate video I do. Maybe on the way back we'll do night moves in New York City. But yeah, so this has been from some comments I've been getting a lot in the last 2 years, where people are asking me who mostly seem like they're in the market for a new bike of some sort. And the question's pretty simple. People are just asking me, like, what do you think makes more sense to buy in this moment of time? Does it make more sense to buy one of the new Milwaukee 8 Softails, such as the 2021 Lowrider S, which has been quite popular, and I think for a pretty good reason? Or does it make sense to go the route I've gone, which is the Dyna/FXR route? You know, which one's better, right? And like most of these questions, it's a really hard question to answer because a lot of it comes down to two things, which are personal preference as well as riding style, right? So look, I'm not gonna lie to you, especially as I start to watch a lot of my friends getting rid of their Dynas for the new Softail Lowrider S, and I watch the builds that they're doing, and they tell me all about the performance of the bikes, plus with the performance upgrades they made. And I'm not gonna lie to you, there's definitely a part of me that kicks around the idea of getting rid of one of my bikes to go the old Milwaukee 8 monoshock route. Right, there's definitely something attractive about those bikes, the Lowrider S in particular, that I don't think anyone could deny, you know? Some of my friends just don't like the look of them, mostly because of the aesthetic, the tank and everything, but actually, I do not dislike the look of those bikes. I kind of like how, you know, when you look at it from the side view, everything just looks so compact, you know, and the whole build just looks really tight, and that's because it most likely is, right? But now, in terms of, yeah, the question, if you are someone who is asking me that question, you're in that position, trying to make that decision. A lot of times when people do ask me that, I just straight up say, like, dude, just buy the new Lowrider S. Like, why would you not go with the most modern build that the factory is making? You know, at the end of the day, they're doing their research more than anyone else. They know, you know, straight out of the factory what's going to give you the best performance. So why not just go with the most modern of performance right now? And that is when we do not tactical maneuver. So yeah. So look, I'll give you, yeah, like I said, I know I sound like a hypocrite because I do tell a lot of people to just pick up the new Lowrider S, but then you see me on pretty much everything but that. You know, I've had no plans to be riding or making any jumps on anything that's not a Dyna or an FXR. So I'll tell you a little bit about my reasons, you know, and overall, you know, I hope I could help you make a more insightful decision on this, because, you know, buying a bike these days, especially a new bike, is a pretty big commitment. So for me, I've ridden the new Softails, you know. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely need to put more miles on the new Lowrider S. That deserves its own review video. But every time I've ridden one of them, I've always been blown away, and I've always just had such a blast on those bikes. Performance wise, they have it, man. You know, they are gonna get up and go, and above all, their maneuvering, the control, the ability to throw that bike around and throw it into curves, it's all there, man. And it's not there with you having to throw a bunch of money into upgrading suspension. It's there straight out of the box, man. You have the monoshock technology, and you have the inverted front end, which makes a huge difference. So it's there. The bike is kind of just ready to go, you know. But as for me, you know, like I say that, like the performance is there. It's got it's the most modern technology, right? For me, it's just because the Dyna, the FXR, to me, that's what most feels like a Harley Davidson. And I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum here or anything like that, you know, but I am saying that I feel like with the new Milwaukee 8s, there's something that I feel like was left behind in regards to what a Harley Davidson feels like, what a Harley Davidson sounds like. And, you know, also riding my Dynas, riding my FXRs, I feel like it's pretty close in regards to, you know, performance, how I could throw around those Milwaukee 8s, you know, especially with the suspension upgrades that I have on this bike that I'm riding right now, as well as my Lowrider S, as well as the FXR. Like, those bikes have no issue cornering, those bikes have no issue handling. Now, this bike in particular, as you know, is a 100% hot rod Dyna. It's got that rebuilt 116 SNS in it, so I'm pretty confident that off the line, I'm gonna smoke your Milwaukee 8 Softail. And in the high end, I'm also gonna smoke your Milwaukee 8 Softail with this engine. This bike is endless, unquenchable power. So in terms of, you know, getting more power out of a Milwaukee 8 engine, whether it's like a 114 or 117 or whatever it is, I am not wanting for power on any of my bikes. Not just this one, but any of them. But do take a moment and enjoy the beauty of New York City. Oh my God. That is nice. But yeah, as you can see, I am not wanting for power in this bike or any of my bikes. With this bike in particular, it's an unnecessary amount of power, especially for New York City. It's totally overkill. But yeah, so just to the fact that, you know, for me, a Dyna and an FXR is always going to feel like home for me. That's always going to be what's gonna give me the most amount of joy riding. You know, to me, that's just what a Harley Davidson is supposed to feel like. And at the end of the day, they do what I need them to do. They do the speeds that I need them to do. They do the maneuvering that I need them to do. You know, it's always gonna be my home, you know? But yeah, so that being said, would I be unhappy to have, say, the new Lowrider S in a garage? Absolutely not. Like, I would be clicking my heels to be running that bike. But if it meant having to get rid of one of my Dynas or my FXR, absolutely not. Like, I would just not trade any of those bikes in, because number one, they have a lot of work in, and I put in a lot of work to make them my own, right? Number two, they couldn't be any more tailored to my riding style at this point. But the reason why I tell people who ask me this, like why the logical choice is to probably just go the Milwaukee 8 Lowrider S route, is because number one, we all know that bike is going to rip. Number two, that bike is so versatile in regards to what you might want to do with it. So you might get that bike thinking that you want to do the riding I'm doing right now, just ripping around the city, maybe doing some lane splitting here and there, doing your thing. And then one day you might decide you want to tour on it. And the touring builds on those bikes are sick. You know, people running the RT fairings on there, people doing all sorts of cool stuff. So they're super versatile. You could set them up to really do anything. So I think, you know, if you're in the market for a new bike and you're not married to an FXR or a Dyna, it makes the most sense for you to go that route, you know? And also, you know, let's be real. In 20 years, the way that people talk about Dynas and FXRs right now is going to be the same way that people talk about the Milwaukee 8s, like the Lowrider S, I'm sure the Street Bob, I'm sure the Fat Bob. Like, people are going to talk about those bikes in 20 years the same way people talk about the Dynas and the FXRs, right? Talk to me in 20 years, you know? Comment on this video in 20 years and you'll see. Watch, there's going to be a hype around them. Everyone's going to say, oh, I wish the factory would just make those Milwaukee 8s again. That was what a Harley Davidson was supposed to feel and sound like. Dude, I actually used to go to this bar in my younger years. Looks like it has a different name now. It's out in the Lower East Side. But yeah, I would say, again, bang for the buck. If you're not married to the FXR and the Dyna, just go, make the commitment. Get yourself the Milwaukee 8 Lowrider S. Because honestly, if I was like starting off fresh in the game and everything, and I didn't have any skin in the game with Dynas or FXRs in terms of the sentimental value and all the miles I put on the Lowrider S and all that, that's probably what I would do. But yeah, I think the best, like, there are people out there that can give you a better rendition of this topic than I can, who either own both bikes or have owned both bikes, who could really tell you what's really going on with that situation. But yeah, an example of that would be, say, Marvel Kid 87, who had, you know, he's got the Softail Lowrider S, and then he also took a dive into a 2015 Lowrider, so he had a Dyna, and then he wound up making the decision to scrap the Dyna, you know, feeling like it didn't make sense to have with the addition of his Lowrider S Softail. So he's a really good person to check out. I think he has a couple of videos on it in regards to why he made that decision, but he chose his Milwaukee 8 Softail Lowrider S over his 2015 Dyna. And when I asked him about it, he was just like, yeah, dude, like, performance-wise, the Softail, the modern Softail was just light years away from the 2015 Dyna. And honestly, that doesn't really surprise me much at all, because this bike that I'm on right now, like, this is a 2006, it doesn't really feel that different from my 2016 Lowrider S, a bike that was made 10 years later, right? So it doesn't really seem like while the Dyna frame is being made, they changed a whole bunch of things. It does kind of make sense that, you know, the Milwaukee 8 Softails would feel completely different. But But yeah, that's the decision he made. And like I said, I do have friends that have gone the similar route, you know. My buddy Romano, he traded in his Lowrider S. That's right, the Dyna Lowrider S. Traded it in for a Softail Lowrider S. And he doesn't really seem to be looking back. He doesn't really seem to be having any regrets around that decision every time I talk to him. I really need to meet up and get a ride in on that bike, but he's another one that rides really hard, really fast, and, you know, he made that decision. But yeah, it's a good question. It's hard to answer. Again, you know, my frame of reference, my style is 100% Dyna and FXR. That's all I'm really interested in. You can call me your standard Dyna bro or whatever you want to label me, but I'm also a realist too. And that being said, like, I'm never gonna tell you that these bikes from the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s are going to perform as well as a modern 2021 performance Harley Davidson. I'm not going to tell you that because I don't believe that. So yeah, as we ride towards that beautiful Empire State Building, let's dodge that sheetrock and enter the chaos that is known as Manhattan. You all let me know in the comment section, what do you think? What is the best decision for somebody to make who is in the market for a new bike? Do you go the Dyna FXR route, the tried and true, the classic? Or do you get with modern times? Do you go with the Lowrider S Softail route and take a plunge into those builds that are straight ripping right now? You all let me know in that comment section. I'm going to keep doing my little rip out here in New York City, my home, as we pass St. Mark's Place. As always, I hope you all stay safe out there and stay low. Ride Softails, ride Dynas, ride FXRs. All that matters is that you ride. And on that, FXTLS Brooklyn is out.